In a world where headlines scream of hidden agendas in schools, digital predators lurking online, and political storms tearing at the fabric of family life, parents stand on the front lines of a spiritual battlefield, desperate for guidance to shield their children's souls. Today on the Warfare Parenting Podcast, we welcome back Lauren Green, Fox News Chief Religion Correspondent and beacon of truth, to unpack the most pressing newsworthy challenges confronting families in 2025, from gender ideology clashes to mental health crises through the unyielding lens of faith. Tune in as she arms you with spiritual insights to transform fear into fortified resolve, growing that you in the era of chaos. Divine light isn't just a comfort, it's your ultimate weapon for victory. Welcome to Warfare Parenting, faith-driven strategies for struggling parents of teens and adult children. I'm your host, Laine Lawson Craft. You're in the right place if you're battling with prodigal children, facing family crises, or seeking spiritual guidance in parenting. Today, we'll equip you with powerful biblical strategies to reclaim your child's destiny and restore hope in your family. Let's step into this faith-filled journey of hope and healing together. Well, I'm so excited to have part two with Lauren Green. As I said in the first episode, y'all need to go listen. She has some beautiful books that I know will encourage you. And for you that heard it, isn't it exciting to know that we can be encouraged every day with just the lighthouse of God? I have been following Lauren for a long time. I'm excited for her to be here. Lauren, welcome again. And thank you so much for your valuable time.
Well, thank you again for asking me. It's really a pleasure.
So awesome. So listen, as the chief religion correspondent at Fox, what do you see as the top newsworthy challenges facing parents and families today in 2025, particularly where spiritual values intersect with current events? And what are your thoughts on all of this, Lauren?
Well, I think the leading things that are happening in public schools, because these are places where parents deliver their children. And unlike, 50 years ago or 60 years ago, the schools of the day, public schools today, do not reflect Christian values. This is something that's been happening over a few decades. I don't think people and parents really understood what was going on. And I think during COVID, they finally found out how the public schools are actually educating your children. You've got a situation where there are schools who will try to transition children without parents' knowledge, not even their consent, but their knowledge. So the child will be, under a different name or want to, use a different bathroom or something like that in the school, and the school will encourage this. It's as if the public schools now think that they can raise your children better than you. I think that is the number one problem facing parents today. Because if you've got a lot of money, of course, you can afford to maybe send your child to a private school or homeschool. Most parents aren't in that position. They have to send their child to a public school if they want them educated in any way. And I interviewed forgot his name, but he is of counsel with family, James Dobson's.
Yes.
And he told me something that I think was incredibly chilling. He said, the public schools were actually created for the intent of taking God out of the public square. They were created as a secular organization. I said, but there was a lot of faith in there. Yes. But the intent was always to weed out the faith. Years ago when I went to public school, you called it Christmas vacation, you called it Easter vacation. That's no longer the case now today. So Christianity is the number one sort of target to get out of this public school. So if you're a person of strong faith and you object to, something about, your kids promoting Pride Week or something like that, that's a problem in public schools because they do promote that.
Yes.
So I would guess that that is the number one thing. If you're a parent and you've got school kids in public schools, that's where they first are exposed to this sort of secular mindset. And of course, when they go into college, it's even worse. I mean, the indoctrination that happens in
Oh,
colleges
yes.
are much worse. I mean, but the public schools are the feeding ground for
Yes.
the universities. You know,
So
they've
all
already
of
been
these things,
primed.
yes, and all of these things, erode family authority.
Right.
They have taken out the spiritual perspective. I ask here, what biblical principles can parents invoke to reclaim their role? How do parents today, Lauren, from your point of view, bring back faith? I guess it would start at home, wouldn't you agree?
It has to start at home. First of all, I would encourage parents to pray at meals if they have meals. Even if you take the kids to McDonald's and you're sitting in the car, just pray over those burgers. Just pray over them. Thank you, dear Lord, for these French fries. Thank you, Lord. Show that faith is not something you have to hide. I would encourage them to read scripture for themselves, to really understand what the faith is. Pray for your children. Pray for
Yeah,
them. Pray
yeah,
with them. Um, it, you've got to be aware of what they're facing, not just in public schools, but online, social media. Um, my heart breaks every time I hear of a young person who commits suicide because they've been bullied online, and they won't tell anybody. They won't tell their parents. They won't tell a counselor. They'll just keep it inside. You must talk to children. You must talk to them. They can be very good at hiding their feelings and hiding their true emotions and their desperation until one day it just snaps and it's over. And you don't know what happened. Well, she was so happy. She was this. I mean, we understand, scientists understand the biological development of teenagers. Like I said, 100, 300 years ago, there was no such thing as a teenage. We didn't worry about teenage. By the time they were 13, 14, 15, they were basically getting married and having children.
right.
So this is a whole different kind of scenario with adolescents, and their brains are not yet fully formed. And so there's a great deal of depression, there's a great deal of anxiety because they're coming into a realization of what the world is like, right? When they're, 3, 4, 5, there is this sense that, mommy, daddy handle everything. And if there's a thunderstorm, I go in their room. That is if you do have two parents who love you and are raising you. When they don't have that struggle starts earlier. But
Yeah.
around adolescence, their brains are not fully formed. So you've got high levels of depression, high levels of what is life about? And these are really deep things. You need to be aware of that question, of that kind of feeling for adolescents, and really understand to deliver them the gospel that Jesus does have answers for you, right?
Right.
To really not just read the word, but ingest the word, incorporate that into how you should be thinking about life. Stay away from movies that, are just overindulgent in those kinds of negative feelings. Um, and really give them hope. Um,
That's yes, yes. Well, yeah, it kind of leads me into the social media I have here. With Meta and social media platforms repeatedly endangering kids through explicit content and AI interactions, how can parents spiritually armor their children against these digital threats that are so new to all of us?
yeah, yeah. The digital threat, yeah, the devil's in the digital. I can't even. I'm not. I mean, I know there's some good in social media. I know there's some good online. A lot of people, a lot of churches use that as a tool to reach out to people, and that's very, very good. Um, but I'll tell you, the devil's busy in the digital, just busy, 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 busy. We're just as sinful as we were 2,000 years ago. We just with the technology, it allows us to send faster and more efficiently, than we could. So it's going to happen faster. how can you guard against it? I mean, I was listening to a technology expert talking about putting on the filters, the parental controls, make sure you have spyware and antivirus things. I said they will find a way. They will find a way. I don't know how, because every 12-year-old can operate a computer better than any 50-year-old. So I don't know. I just know that they can, and they'll find a way. Nothing you do can can stop them from accessing something that they shouldn't be accessing. What you can do is make it so they don't want to. That's your job as the parent, to instill in them this kind of hunger for God and the values and the power of this God who's here on this earth, who's here not only in the earth, but is outside of time and is eternal. Tap
Right.
them into that source, and you won't have to put those parental controls on that computer. That's the first thing you need to be doing.
Well, Lauren, y'all have been talking a lot about at Fox News recently about this 13-year-old, wait till they're 13. All these new studies have been coming out to give them a phone, wait till they're 13. You know, how some of these school systems are actually taking the phones up and, just really monitoring them, more with not letting them have these things, so early in life. Do you agree to that?
You know, only because I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure about that. We've all been on a bus or in a mall or somewhere where the parent, the kid gets the parent's, phone and then pops up his favorite, game, and the kid's
Right.
old and he knows how to do it. Like I said, I don't think the phone is the problem. It's the values that you instill in your child. That's where it begins. Like I said, there are so many things you can try to prevent. I can put steel bars up on a window and not let my kid out. But if I teach him the values, that I love him, that I care for him, that I am God's representative on earth to raise this child, and I love you, and my laws, my discipline is because I love you, not because I want to keep you from having fun. When a
That
child
is,
understands that, you don't have to put bars on the window. You don't have to not, I think phones are actually can be a very good safety thing for a child. At 13, yes, I mean, we've seen all these school shootings. You want to be able to get a hold of your child. I don't think they need it during math class, honestly. So,
yes.
or English class. I mean, I think you can ditch it, but um, I'm not sure about that. I just think if you teach a
Well,
child to be responsible first about the values you hold, you may not have to worry about that phone.
that's huge, Lauren. I think that's probably the greatest nugget today, because I've often said if somebody wants to do something bad, they're going to find a way to do it,
Oh
no
yeah.
matter what laws are in place, no matter what. And you're right, it really does go back to the values, and more importantly, the values of family. That kind of leads us in as we welcome in Generation Beta babies in 2025. What
Beta
emerging
babies. Wow.
challenges? Beta babies, these AI integration and these secular influencers. How can spiritual practices prepare families for this new era of AI and artificial intelligence and all the things that we see on the news every day?
Well, first of all, get a hard copy Bible, not a digital one, because you don't know how it's been altered. I mean, you really want
Right,
to get a hard copy that you can hold,
right.
actually look at. Um, the AI is scary because there is a gentleman who is creating an AI operation that is faith-based, that is God-based. And he was showing me the difference between what his um, search will answer a question like, who is God? And how the secular version answers, who is God? So you've got to seek out the right sources, even in AI. And he said, God is not surprised by AI. God is not surprised by computers. God is not surprised by any of this because he knows who we are. We know we have the ability to create things because we're made in his image. What we lack is the perfection of character and morality that will make us create things that are for flourishing of humanity rather than for exploitation of humanity. And I
Yes.
think that's really key to understanding who we are. I really believe that people need to understand the sin that's in their own hearts. This is so key. I study faith. I'm a person of faith. I know the sin and the level of sin, the deep morass of sin that's in my heart. I just know it. I know it's there, and I pray daily. I said, to please purge me of this sin. But, but at the same time, I ask for, have mercy on me. I'm a sinful person, but lead me to this hope that's greater than me. Um,
Mm.
the I think what I've noticed in people is that they think they're okay. They go along okay. You have to understand that every day a child's brain grows. And one of the things a neuroscientist said, um, neurons that fire together wire together, right?
Mm.
Neurons that fire together wire together. So if the child's brain is growing daily, those little neurons are doing things and they're wiring together events that you may not realize that they're wiring together. And then one day the child may do something or say something or be something, and you go, what did I go wrong? It's like, understand that every day that child's brain is gathering knowledge and creating synaptic connections that you may not understand are being made. That's why you've got to be aware of being faithful and living out that gospel every moment of every day. It starts with the
That's so
parents.
good, Lauren. If you had to say, in your perspective, what would you say is the greatest challenge facing families today?
Just, I can make things like economics, and those are not just, they're big issues. But if you make them into foundational issues, you will lose track of, like I say, the gospel. I think for families, it's the day-to-day, everyday grind of going to school, going to work, paying bills. It's it's the everyday stuff I think becomes the greatest challenge collectively. Um, and those day-to-day tasks. I mean, I was blessed to be raised by two parents, didn't have a lot of money, but you could set your watch, your clock by the time my dad left for work and returned from work every day.
Wow.
That taught me the value of work, of just
Mm.
showing up. And he didn't complain. Um, you know, he didn't complain that he didn't have enough, shoes to wear, and his work shirts were, holy t-shirts that he couldn't wear under his shirt anymore for work. It things were just different. I think for parents today, the number one concern is just every day, um, and who's raising their children. Listen, I know people have to work, but I do know the value when parents actually raise their children. I mean, I live in New York, and across the hall from my husband and I are a young couple, and they have two young children. But I rarely see the children with their parents. I see the children all day, really, with the babysitter. And I wonder, like, who's influencing your child?
Yes.
Are they being more influenced by the babysitter that sees them, 8 hours a day, or are you? And make sure it's you. That's all I can say. I mean, I know people have to work. I know you need baby care, and maybe there's something that we can do. But I just think the everyday grind is probably the issue.
I
You
do
know,
too. I
um,
do too.
I just the everyday interaction. I remember seeing a parent at the airport, and the boy was, like, climbing on the escalator thing, and the father just yelled at him so mean. I thought, well, I don't know what your history is, but that just seems a little rough. And I wonder what that home life is like. Um,
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
I think everybody's stressed out. I think you're right. I mean, everyday, this is great, Lauren, because it is the everyday grind, is what I call
Yes,
it. It's a grind. And we stay so busy, we can't plug into God. We're frustrated. A lot of these, and I was just going to ask you, what is your thought? You know, we both of us were blessed with the mom and dad to raise us. I believe the statistic is close, man, high 60% of where children aren't even being raised by two parents. I mean, we're
yeah,
looking at maybe three-quarters of our children in America being raised basically by mom. I mean, that puts a
yeah.
lot of burden on her, doesn't it?
Well, there's a father shortage. There's a
Yes,
father problem. I'll
yes,
tell you, um, Mary Eberstadt's book, The Adam and Eve and the Pill Revisited, is incredible. And also Nancy Pearcey's book, The Toxic War on Masculinity, excellent
yes.
books to talk about the problem of fathers and the fathers not being in the household. And she said something, both of them have said something, but Mary Eberstadt's book talks about the sexual revolution really changed the relationship between men and women. She gave the example of in the 70s, there the there was there was a scandal because a teenage girl was pregnant in some small town in New York. And she said the scandal wasn't that the girl got pregnant because, that happens. The scandal was her boyfriend wouldn't marry her.
Mhm.
That's the scandal. See that because the sexual revolution taught them that it's okay to have sex, and that then babies became like almost a disease. Like, you take care of it. I don't have to be concerned about that anymore. I don't have to take responsibility for the child that I fathered inside of you, because that's the mantra of the sexual evolution. You have to take care of this. I don't have to be this anyway. There's no nobility, there's no honor to be the father to the child that he's created. That changed the relationship between men and women. And I would say that for young girls, and I know this is, like I say, countercultural, you need to stop having sex outside of marriage.
Yes,
Just
yes.
cut it out. Don't ask. He said, you know what? If you don't get any dates, then you don't get any dates. But you will be respected. They will know, and you'll have more fun. I mean, I always talk to it's like my nephews and my nieces. I said, you will know after about 8 dates if you're not meant to take this any further.
That's
Eight
right.
dates. But if you're having sex, that those 8 dates go into years when it really shouldn't be. You just need to go next. Is this a man of God? Under whose authority does this man live in his life? Right?
Right.
You need to understand whose authority, because because there's an authority in your life. Is it under
That's
his?
right.
He thinks he's under his. Well, that's a problem.
And it
And
all, yeah, it all goes back to the values too that we talked
right.
about. You know, if you have values, then you understand all of this.
Yes.
It's frightening, the numbers about children having sex at 13 years old.
Yeah.
We're having, girls having babies at 13, 14, and 15. I mean, something's got to give, Lauren. Something's got to give.
See, and that's the parent needs to really be good about it. And I know there are a lot of parents, probably most of their parents at this point never, had sex outside of marriage. And we know that. But there's an experience there that says this is you're not old enough to understand the power that this will have over you emotionally if
Yes,
this relationship does not go on. You basically have to separate sex from love. And that's not
yes,
what God intended, right? This relationship, this sex inside of the bonds of marriage was to create a one life oneness in a way that it seals the deal, in a way that is not, that you cannot seal anywhere else. Now,
that's right.
if you have sex outside of marriage, that bonding agent is still there. And no matter if you go on to the next lover or next thing, that person is still has part of you still.
That's right. That's right,
We
Lauren.
don't like to talk about it because
No, no.
but I'll tell you, there'll be a lot of saved lives, a lot of saved relationships. It's easy to break up with somebody you've not had sex with and you can be friends later. It's like, well, that didn't work out. It's not easy when you've had sex with somebody and you're trying to move on and you can't, and your
That's
heart's
right.
broken.
It's countercultural. We got body counts, you hear all about. I mean, it truly, we have got to, moms and dads, it really goes back to those primary values, Lauren.
Right.
Instilling those early on, letting them see their value and identity very young. And it takes a lot of strength uh, to stand in this culture today
Yeah.
because it's counterintuitive and countercultural.
Yeah.
Lauren, we're out of time
Oh,
again. I would love for you to tell us how people can find out more about your books and all.
well, Light for Today is available on Amazon and Christian booksellers. I think Lighthouse Faith is probably available as well. You can always go to the Broad Street publishing website as well. And HarperCollins published Lighthouse Faith. Also on the Fox website, foxnews.com website, there'll be more information you can find about me. Just kind of put my name in the search and you'll find more information about the podcast and what we talk about. A lot of various things we talk about in the podcast. So, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to love connecting with her. Lauren, as we close, is there any lasting thing you'd like to say?
I always want to tell people, I said, if there's anything you want in life, I said, you really have to understand and know God. Make it your priority, make it the first thing you do in the morning. If anything else, just say, thank you, God, for this day. Thank you, God, for this day. And then from that point on, just connect with God all day long.
That's so good, Lauren. Listen, as our conversation with Lauren Green draws to a close, let her wisdom resound like thunder in your spirit in the face of 2025's relentless assaults on family sanctity, from hidden school agendas to digital darkness. Faith stands as the unbreakable fortress, illuminating paths through the storm. Armed with these spiritual truths today, you, the warriors of the hearth, are called to rise, reclaim your divine authority, and forge legacies of light for generations yet unborn. Go forth now, unyielding and empowered, for in this sacred warfare, your family's triumph isn't just possible, it's prophesied in the eternal promise of hope and light. Thank you again for joining us, and I'll see you next week on the Warfare Parenting Podcast. Thank you for joining us on Warfare Parenting. Remember, you can overcome even the most challenging parenting battles with faith and the right strategies. If this episode has touched your heart or provided valuable insights, please subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your support helps other struggling parents find the hope and guidance they need. Until next time, remain steadfast in faith and remember, together we never give up on our families. Visit my website too for my new book, Warfare Parenting, a daily battle plan to fight for your child. The first 10 days are free on my website and many other free resources. Go to LaineLawsonCraft.com.